What's up, and welcome back to Talking Nutrition, episode 106. I still can't believe we made it over 100, which is one of those things where you just got to keep going. Before you know it, you're way in. And you know what? The same is going to go for your fitness journey. Now we're at this time of the recording. We are 11 days into the year. It's been a while already. Like, to be honest with you, like I feel like 2023 was one of those years where you blink and it's like, wait, what? Okay. So far this year has been like that times two, but it's all like, they always say like, time flies when you're having fun, which I know is probably overused, but you know what I mean. Like it definitely feels like that though, and I'm really fucking excited. That being said, we have a lot of new people listening to the show. So if you are new, first of all, welcome. Like I'm super pumped to have you here. We've been doing this for a little over a year and a half, just about, and I'm just happy to see more and more new faces. It's been really cool. We've definitely been doubling down on the blog. So just so you know as well, for our existing listeners as well as our new people, you can always go to our website. I'll make sure to link these in the show notes. But what we're going to be doing, basically what I have been doing for the last couple of weeks, is I take the week to write an article. We go in depth. I actually ask some questions like within our client community as well. Like, hey, like what do you guys want to learn more about, like in relation to this topic? And let's dive deep, because I think the cool thing with podcasting, the cool thing with blogs and social media is like we can, every single week we can dive deep and pick apart a specific topic, but most importantly address what you want to learn more about. And that's the coolest shit, because I could hop on here, I mean, to be honest with you, like that's what we were doing, but I could hop on here and talk about the shit that I think is important, right? And I will, of course, bring things to the table that I think you really should know. But I think it's even more important for you to actually be able to contribute to this stuff. So I do want you to know as well, you could always go to my Instagram and hit me up, ask questions, come with suggestions. I will also make sure that every Wednesday I'll put up a Q&A box, basically, where maybe like sometimes it'll be turned into a post, a blog, whatever it is. But if you answer that, I'll make sure to get back to you. I could even just DM you or even share the answer in my Instagram stories. But whatever you do, like if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. This is not a pitch. This is not a salesy like surprise, like, like, hey, buy my shit. Like, no, like honestly, if you have a question, ask away. You know what? Like you can even go into Spotify. So I'm going to make it even easier for you. You can go into Spotify and you can directly submit a question there. A lot of people don't know about that function, but I just gave you a whole bunch of ways, to reach out to me. And the reason I do that is that I've learned so much from other people. I've learned so much from other coaches, professionals in the space, even before I was a coach too, like more than 10 years ago, when I was trying to figure the shit out of myself, like by myself. It was confusing. It wasn't easy to learn about nutrition and know, hey, which sources are, like, who's actually trying to help me and who's actually just trying to push a specific diet, a book, a supplement, whatever it is, And there's nothing wrong per se with having certain approaches or, right, protocols or books or supplements for that matter. But I do think that we need to be helping people, and that's what I'm here for. That's why I keep showing up for you every single week, twice a week. And that's what we keep doing. And like, again, for accountability, like I mentioned this very early on in the year, which if you think about it, it was just last week, but still, we're going to be doing this like twice a week for this whole year, right? So every Monday and Thursday, there will be an episode. That is my goal, and I'm going to make sure to adhere to that. And I'm talking about it on air for accountability, because I want to show up for you. And I want to basically help you, like actually get you through this year. Because we've talked enough about like New Year's resolutions and all that kind of stuff. Like you kind of know how it goes. And you know what though? Like 2 weeks into the year, 2.5, like we're starting to see it. Like people are kind of, so let's avoid that. Let's avoid that. Now, a big one, which is today's topic, is routines and morning routines. And I'm not sure if this is because I am very much into personal development and because of the people I follow and the stuff that I like and watch, whatever. But I'm definitely getting a lot of the very specific like protocols, the clickbaity stuff. And I know that's in general, that's how it goes with social media. But today I wanted to talk with you and break down like morning routines, and basically we're going to learn something from two extreme sides of the equation. As you know, usually like it's somewhere in the middle, right? What actually works for you. But we're going to take two approaches. We're going to put them side by side. We're going to compare. And I'm going to basically share with you my journey of trying to figure out my perfect morning routine. So before we get into the episode, please do me a massive favor. If you're enjoying the show so far, go into Spotify or Apple and drop us a quick 5-star rating. It literally takes a minute. Like, you don't even have to like write a review. It's literally just, you click the 5 stars. That's it. It takes maybe 10 seconds altogether. So you can do that right now as I'm still rambling on and introducing. But we do this for free, right? We do it for free. There's no ads, no whatever. Like, this is helpful stuff, specifically, recorded for you. And that's my only ask, to be honest with you. That's the only ask I have. And I'd really appreciate that. So thanks in advance. Today's topic, self-development. Basically the self-development trap. What's wrong with influencers' morning routines? We're going to talk about my story, like I said, how I kind of got into this stuff, then how I completely just went the opposite direction and just didn't do anything in my morning between like waking up and working, to basically figuring out, okay, like, hey, there's still these kind of things I want to do on a daily basis. Like, how can I really create that, best day for me? And then I'll give you a couple examples and stuff too towards the end. Because as you know already, I'm not going to give you a specific routine. And if that's what you're here for, I'm sorry. What I will do though is help you figure out over time what it will be for you. And I want you to know that that's maybe even like the main purpose of this whole episode. It's like, don't just hear something and jump on it. We'll get back to this later, but I see this so often. It's like, hey, I want to look like this person, so I'm going to do this person's workout, Or it's like, hey, I want to look as shredded as that guy, so I'm going to use his meal plan. It's the same shit with morning routines. It's like, hey, this successful person has this morning routine, so I should be doing that too. Yeah, you guess, like, you know what? Like, there's a lot of people doing a lot of like crazy, like 1 to 3 hour routines. Like, should you actually be doing that, or should you just do what is enough for you and feasible and doable, right? That's not taking away from sleep, for example. I think that's important too, right? So let's get into that. Like a lot of people, I got into like self-development. I feel like that goes hand in hand with starting your own company and learning about yourself. And that's really what building a business is. It's like you fully get exposed to like your own weaknesses. And in order to grow, like, you got to address you. I'm speaking, towards myself currently. So that's been a really cool journey. But, I got into this thing called morning routines. And initially from the book, The 5 a.m. Club. Now, over the course of the weeks/months I read that book, I transformed from like a night owl to a morning person. I used to like really not be a morning person. Let me explain, because as a kid, I used to always play video games. My parents would always tell me, like, go to bed, And then I would stay up late, play like RuneScape and shit, Late at night, I would go to bed. Then, in my late teens, still playing, a lot of video games too, but I would also go out to drink. A lot of partying, a lot of drinking, right? Late nights. Sometimes we would just not sleep at all. And then go to bed like 5 in the morning, Like, that feeling too. Like, we talked about alcohol last week, but it's like, you're young, you're getting into drinking, and it's like, you see the sun come up again, like 5 in the morning, you're like, oh, fuck, It's the worst. But anyway, I do, you know what though? Like, it was good times. You know what I mean? It was good times. I really liked that time with my friends. But anyway, then after my teens, like in my 20s, I spent like a decade touring the world, playing in bands, working for other bands, backpacking in between, spending a year in Australia, right? A lot of traveling. Guess what I did too? I would go to like Finland, for example, go into Lapland, but I would sleep in my car to save money. And I've spent so many nights on airports. I would get the flight with like the shitty layover so that I would have to sleep at the airport super uncomfortable, but hey, like I got to save money. But anyway, long story short, decades and decades and decades of not so great sleep. And you know what? To make it even kind of, top it off, when I moved to Norway, initially, I got a job here as a Northern Lights guide. So I was an outdoor / like Northern Lights guide, which is at night. So I spent 4 winters like chasing Northern Lights. That was my job, which was really cool. And in the meantime, I started coaching CrossFit, ultimately nutrition coaching too. But years of, long time, like most of my life, if you think about it, the majority of my life, I didn't have like great sleep habits. Anyway, I was kind of like the anti-morning person, you know. So you can imagine that as I read the book, and for anyone who doesn't know the book, it's by Robin Sharma, the 5 a.m. Club. You know what? Like maybe sometimes throughout this episode, like you might start to get the idea that I'm hating on the book, but I'm not. I want you to know that I really liked the book and I learned a lot from it. However, I took it too far. Because here's the thing, right? I read the book. It took me a lot of coffee and consistently trying to, get up earlier. Because first for me it was 6 a.m. That was super early, and then 5. And actually this morning I got up at 4, to be honest with you. But that's just because I woke up and I was like, I couldn't sleep anymore. Which, full transparency, was stress related. But okay, anyway, right? I'm a morning person now. And I legit, I love the early mornings these days. I love it. I can get so much shit done. That's when I do my writing. That's when I'm most creative. That's where I move the needle. Now here's the thing. What's so magic about, getting up early? Because I feel like there's a lot of buzz around specific routines and rituals on social media. And whether you're a morning person or not, routines are important. Let's just start with that. Routines and having good systems in place for you to be healthy, consistent, etc. Is important for us to be successful long term. But does it really have to be an hour-long laundry list of to-dos and shit? Or is a lot of that stuff that you see these days on social media a waste of time? Because you've seen them too. I mean, you're listening to a fitness, nutrition podcast, you've seen them. The lavender sprays, the red light therapy, the cold water exposure, the breath work, the amygdala responses, the adenosine receptors, getting salt water, the list goes on. You know what I mean, right? You know what I mean. We've all seen that stuff. Is a lot of that even applicable to you, or is it mostly just noise and shit? Let's explore that. Now, one thing before we dive in, if you don't have it yet, remember that I do have our free ebook as well as a download, which you can grab in the show notes. It's my definitive fat loss nutrition guide. You can get it for free. People told me that I'm actually crazy for giving it away for free. I actually get a bunch of emails from people. They're like, "How's this free? Why are you sending this over?" You know what it is? I'm happy to help. And I know that nutrition is a tricky thing to figure out. And that's why I'm sharing the ebook with you. It used to be a client-only resource. I spend hours and hours and hours. By the way, as I went through the 5 a.m. Club book and I started dialing in my routines, and we'll talk about this soon. And when I went from kind of doing that to nothing and just working right away, that was actually the time I wrote this ebook. So I kind of got the memory as well. But I spent mornings and mornings and mornings writing that thing. And you know what? It's very in-depth. It was going to be a quick reference guide almost for our clients, but it's an 81-page ebook and it's free. So I'm going to call you crazy for not downloading it. It's in our show notes. You can grab it right now. You can keep listening to this in the meantime. All you need is your email address. Of course, you're going to be added to the newsletter. That's just how things get sent out. You can unsubscribe anytime. But again, if you're listening to this podcast and you like this stuff, you're going to love the ebook. I can promise you that one. Let's get back to the show. Here's the problem with the 5 a.m. Club style morning routines. Because if there's one thing I want you to take away from this whole episode / the article that you can read as well in the blog, is that I don't want you to just jump on something just from hearing it on a podcast. Even here, right? That's why I'm not going to say you need to do these specific things. No, that's not right. It doesn't apply to you. And I will be sharing what I'm doing currently with you. but that still doesn't say anything, right, about what your morning looks like and should look like. So I took it too far. That's why I want to share this stuff with you. I read the book and I got into it. And let me just give you a little bit of a background story just so you understand, because a lot of people are probably not going to know about the book. But in the 5 a.m. Club, Robin Sharma talks about basically taking excellent care of the front end of your day so that the rest of your day will be pretty much taken care of. He says, like, own your morning, elevate your life. And I do think that is true. Like I just said, like I can get so much work done in the morning. I'm way more productive. I can get into that flow state, which is already difficult to achieve. And it's a really nice time. Like, I swear, like when I'm in bed in the evening and I read my book, like I legit look forward to waking up, getting that coffee and getting started. And I know, right? Good for you. But like, I legit enjoy that, you know? Which also makes it, like, for me, like, fun to talk about this stuff because I want to share it with you. Now, years after reading the book and having played with like different approaches, I think I have an idea how it can kind of help you here. Because here's the thing. I took it too far. I ended up doing like a full hour of what they recommend in the book, which basically is a routine, like a 4-part routine, where you cover basically the 4, it's called interior empires. Is your mindset, aka psychology, your heart set, aka emotionality, sorry, I'm still European, 3rd, health set, physicality, and then 4, soul set, aka spirituality, right? So you're basically taking care of every kind of aspect of your health, your well-being, your life. And I do love that concept, and I think it's great. And you know what, like I think we should be taking care of all of those 4 components, but an hour long is a very big chunk out of your morning. So I would wake up, go on a walk, get some fresh air, meditate, journal, read, all of which was actually still super important, and it benefited me. I loved it. It became a daily routine, but all it was just like preparing for the day. You see? It felt good, but it was just a lot to keep up with. So I had this whole laundry list of things. It took me an hour to kind of get ready, in quotes, sometimes longer, right, for the day, and then start working. And I can only imagine, like, maybe you feel like that, where it's like, hey, you feel like an hour long, like, I think that's crazy, like, that's too long for me. And I can imagine, like, maybe you don't have time for that. I would understand. And you know what? Most people are not going to have a full hour in the morning to get ready to start their day. You got work, you got school, maybe you have kids, you're already running a little sleep. You're happy if you can maybe get some breakfast or coffee in. You know, the kids need to get ready, like whatever it is you got to do. You're probably busy already. You're probably already rolling out of bed and just quickly brushing your teeth and then just jumping out and running to the bus or, you know, grabbing the car, whatever it is, rushing. And I talked about like the specific influencer stuff. I mean, you've seen those videos, you know, where the camera is already set up and then they wake up, they get out of bed, and there's this whole laundry list of shit. I saw one last week when I was looking into, you know, this topic that was legit from like 7 a.m. to 10 or something. It was like a 3-hour thing. And I'm like, yes, I get that, right? If like me, you have your own business, you work from home, and a lot of these people, like, they're just posting content. You know, a lot of it is bullshit too. But sure, like if that is your setup, okay. But most of our listeners, like you're gonna have your usual life, your normal job, your 9 to 5, whatever it's called. Shouldn't we accommodate for that life, which is like 99% of people? Your mornings are already crazy. So I think you probably don't need that full hour, especially if sleep is already an issue. I've seen so many people come to us and then undersleep. That's an issue. Like that's going to translate into like everything else, health and fitness, and, you know, and nutrition even is going to play into cravings, hormones. So it's like, well, should we really be sacrificing sleep just for like fancy influencer stuff that, you know, really just looks cool in a reel? But I'm not hating on the book, by the way. Like I said before, like I'm not hating on the rituals, the routines, etc. other than like the unnecessary stuff. But I do think that for most people, it's just not worth it. It can become a crutch, and that's what it was for me. I would be completely dysregulated as soon as I would not be able to hit my list of stuff. So because of that, I realized that and I quit. And I just dropped my whole morning routine. And all of a sudden, I had like a full hour just free. And like I said, this was when I wrote the ebook, which if you haven't yet, you can grab in the show notes. But all of a sudden, the early mornings, I had that full hour. It's a productivity block for me now. I can get some deep work done. And it turns out, as I found out at that time, like, hey, you don't need a specific routine to get ready, to seize the day. Sometimes it's like simplicity, like that's the key. And if you're like me, like you have a lot of shit to do, let's get to it. Let's get it done. Whether you work from home or not, whether you're an entrepreneur, you have your 9 to 5, whatever it is, you work for someone else, you got studying to do, you can wake up and you get started. This is what Alex Hormozi also talks about. I know I've brought him up a couple times, but I really like his stuff. And later on, like I heard him talk about the same shit. It was like, he's like, hey, like we got productivity, right? Which is how much do you get done within a certain, time frame. Let's also just like remove as much time as possible between like waking up and starting work so that you can be more productive. By definition, you can get more done. You can move the needle, right? Like the work needs doing anyway, so you might as well just get it, over with and get started right away. And that's what I've currently been doing for a long time now. And I go in and out, but I wanted to share the middle ground here. Right now, wake up, feed the cats, drink water, get my coffee, I get started. Writing right away, boom. But then I began to kind of miss a couple things. And this is kind of like more into like finding what works for you. Because sometimes we need to make that all or nothing mistake. Because I made that mistake. Also, like here, I definitely made that mistake. You need to make that all or nothing mistake to then realize that as usual, somewhere in the middle lies the actual solution. Because I've gone from like a full hour to now doing nothing at all. It's like get shit done mentality, which I still love. But it was no more journaling, meditation, no more, right? Breath work, stuff that kind of recharges you. And I did miss the morning walks. But here's the thing. It's not even the exact practices in whatever order that does it. But it's having a routine in place and doing something that you can stick to, adhere to consistently, that allows you to get shit done, but also do the things that recharge you, because that's the thing. We talk about temperance, right? Moderation. All things in moderation. It's also for work. It also goes for your workday. It also goes for the things that you need to be doing. You train, you take rest days. You can go hard at the gym. You can do, also fat loss phases, muscle gain, whatever. But there's going to be a off season where we recover, we repair. Extended periods of maintenance. You cannot be dieting all year round. Same kind of thing here. Like we can work hard, but we got to recharge too. And I was missing those actions. I was missing the recharging stuff. So that being said, I then moved from the full hour, to nothing, which was like drinking coffee and get shit done, to now being like, hey, you know what? Like I do like my journaling. I do like meditation. I also have my Duolingo to do to learn Norwegian. And there's a couple other things. I now have different moments in my day that work for me where I do them. So I have my deep work block. And then when I have breakfast and I have a little break just around 10 in the morning, then I'll do my journaling and meditation. Because it almost acts like a get shit done block followed by a little bit of recharging, and then I'll do the rest. You see? That's just what works for me. It could completely just like be terrible for you. And maybe you have a job that, doesn't allow for that. It makes sense, right? The whole point here is that we do something that feeds into like the different aspects of life. Now I know we talked about, the mindset, the heart set, health set, etc. But I think they're a little bit vague maybe. little bit out there. What I think is important every single day, and this is actually going to help you like find what works for you, right? Every single day, you do something that pours into 4 different buckets. And basically you want to do at least one thing for each of those buckets. We are going to take care of our health. Yes. Our self as well. Our wealth, right? We got to learn, we got to work on our relationships too. Those are our basic needs that we need to be taken care of on a daily basis. And if we do not do that, and if we miss out on any of those 4, buckets, like I said, we don't pour into it enough, we may be really moving forward in one of those, but really slacking somewhere else or lacking. The goal is to cover all of these. So when it comes to health, you want to think nutrition as well as movement. When it comes to self, like you want to take care of your mental health. I'm a big fan of like journaling, meditation, but even things like gratitude journaling, which really actually, like that one really plays more into relationships. Because first of all, next one, wealth, right? You want to keep learning. We talked about self-mastery recently. It's that growth mindset. We always want to keep leveling up. That's wisdom. You always want to keep learning. Wisdom isn't about like being, a know-it-all, like knowing everything. Like, no, like we continuously should look to improve. And that will then also, of course, play into wealth. Because if we thrive as a person, as an individual, and this is a mistake a lot of people make, is like they think they're too busy, stressed, whatever, to take care of themselves. However, if we can still dial in your nutrition, your fitness, etc., your health, we get you to a good spot, then you can actually show up in life way better and you can deal with shit, right? So that's why you take care of your health. That's why you take care of your mind, right? Yourself. That's why we take care of our wealth, like leveling up consistently. That's that wisdom, like always wanting to grow. And we do the work, right? Whether you have your own business or right, you work for someone else, either way, work needs doing. But we can usually grow there as well. Plus our relationships with our friends, with our family, partner, right? Those are all 4 things that we got to take care of. So on a daily basis, what are you going to do to pour into all those 4 buckets? So again, there's no specific morning routine here. I shared a little bit about what I do, which by the way also includes reading, which in the morning is self-development or business related. In the evening, it's a fantasy book. I read The Witcher because I'm already working so much. I got to wind down. Plus it kind of, teaches me more about, good writing and stuff, which is cool. But that's just what works for me. So what's going to work for you? What do you think? What do you think is important for you to recharge, right? How will you take care of your health, yourself, wealth, and relationships? You can use the checklist that we talked about, last couple episodes, a habit tracker. You can, make a quick checklist yourself. Do whatever you got to do. You can just do it, right? And I do think it's important to kind of keep track of these kind of things, but what are you going to do? Is your movement going to be walking? Are we going to do a daily morning walk? Can we get that in? Can we get a couple weekly workouts? Can we start lifting weights? Can we start eating healthy? And guys, that eating healthy part, like, of course, it's a mostly nutrition podcast. Like, we're going to be talking about that way more, but what do you need to do? I think you probably know, like, what the main thing is that you need to do to move forward in terms of nutrition, for example, because you know what you mostly struggle with. So share that. Look for solutions. Ask me for help. Ask someone else for help. Your buddy, someone who has reached the goals that they have already reached the goals that you currently have. Like, ask for help if you can't figure it out on your own, right? That's why we do this stuff. But also when it comes to, self-mastery, wisdom, pouring into your wealth. Like, what are you going to do to continuously level up and get better? Do we need to do a course? Do we need to work on our own weaknesses, which also plays into self again? So a lot of these kind of go hand in hand, as you see. But can we get into meditation? Can we start a journaling practice? Can we get into therapy? For example, there's no right or wrong here. When it comes to journaling, like, what are we going to be doing? Like, do we want to try affirmations? Do we want to do a gratitude journal? which again, like I said, hand in hand, it pours into like relationships. Are we going to message our friends, family members that we're thankful for them? Are we going to actually reach out to them? You know what? Are we actually going to send them a message, give them a call? There's so much that we can do. But I want you to think about this stuff and not expect to get the solution from a podcast or from a blog, but be proactive and be resourceful and figure shit out based on what is going to likely be best for you, but play around with it like I did. It's been multiple years. And it took me a long time. It took me a long time to realize that the 5 a.m., hour-long ritual was too much for me. Then I didn't do anything for a little while. Then I did something, and that something has changed over the course of the last 12 months. And I feel like now I have a pretty decent routine in check, But it's an ongoing process of iteration, reflection, making it better, falling off, noticing, hey, I thought this was a good idea. Let me not try this because it's not working. Okay, hey, I notice when I do this at this time, usually I forget. And that's one thing that I will say. Maybe you don't have that much time in the morning. And I don't want you to sacrifice quality sleep. If anything, if you need to choose between a morning routine and sleep, please check, or please make sure that you get your sleep in. Please make sure that you don't sacrifice quality sleep for just another thing on your to-do list. Sleep will always outperform like whatever hack you'll see out there. And there's no hacks, by the way. Think about that. Think about that because it's super important. I've definitely seen people make that mistake where, hey, it's so important. I'm going to get up an hour early, which is great. Like, yes, get up early, but what are you going to do that evening before? Are you going to still go to bed at 12? Or are you also going to do the responsible thing of like, hey, I want to get up early, so I'm going to go to bed early, which means going back to temperance, moderation, all things in moderation. Hey, maybe we watch one episode of Netflix instead of fucking 20. Because before you know it, it's 5 a.m. and you're supposed to be waking up, So try to play with this. I think I gave you a couple ideas here, and I know I kept it very general. But what this is going to do, it's going to lead to better stress management. You get more done. You're physically healthier. You're happier because you get to design your life, right? You're more calm, more focused, more present maybe. You have better relationships with others as well as yourself. You get to work through difficult things. And you also do the things that you actually know are important for you. Because I know, especially these days, like journaling, meditation, like at least is getting more popular now. Unfortunately, because more people are dealing with like, anxiety, stress, depression, etc. But there's a lot of tools out there. But think about this stuff and start creating something that can help you. I like reading. I like a quick to-do list for the day. And we can talk more about like reflection in another episode because we're already over 30 minutes. But, let's maybe make that the next blog. We'll see. We'll pick a topic. But play around with this stuff. Play around with this stuff. Set a goal and give yourself the time. And I'm not saying a week. I'm not saying 2 weeks. Like, no, like 30 to 60, 90 days. Like, give it a shot. Keep track of things. As I always say, like, I keep track of whatever you do. And then iterate, like I said, reflect on it, be proactive, be in the moment, pay attention to, hey, I'm trying this thing now. How do I feel? How do I feel if I get a morning walk? If I get some sunlight in the morning, which are all great things. And of course, there's like grounding and stuff, which I'm currently I'm not familiar with. So I don't know if there's even any science to back that up. But I mean, there's so much these days. It's like, oh, you're supposed to be delaying your caffeine use for like 45 minutes and adenosine receptors. And you know what? Like most people just need to get up and get some breakfast in and just go. You know what I mean? And they're happy if they can get some coffee in. So I want you to kind of think like what's likely going to be best for you. Makes sense? So I want to wish you a great week and play with this. Tomorrow morning, after listening to this stuff, really try to be proactive. Figure something out that you want to try. And if you need more recommendations, you can download the ebook. Like I said, there's actually a routine and sleep section in there, as well as a stress management section where I give you specific, there's a whole bunch of, there's lists of stuff that you can be including, even also supplements and stuff, which of course is just for general information. You also want to look into things yourself, make the best decision. But I will say this, out of all the things that you're going to run into on this like health and fitness / self-development journey, is usually the basics. And it's the basics done over and over and over again, and then again, consistently. Like, that's the shit that actually makes the difference. It's usually not the fancy stuff, the lavender sprays, the right amygdala response, whatever, you know? Which is all, sure, there's probably some research to back those kind of things up with the adenosine receptors and all the kind of, delaying caffeine. Yeah, sure, I know, but let's keep it real, applicable, so that you, the listener, like, actually, first of all, just can stick to it, and second, actually benefit from the stuff. So thanks for listening. Once again, feel free to subscribe, follow anywhere you listen to us, watch us. Drop us a quick 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple, and then we will be back on Thursday to talk about the second phase. Remember, last Thursday we talked about the initial phase of preparing. The second phase, the transformation phase, is coming up on Thursday. I'll talk to you then.